It's finally here. Advent of Code 2023 just started, and we just finished day one. If you don't know what Advent Code is, I made like a 4-part series for the preparation of it. Basically, every day a leak code question comes out that's Christmas themed, and your goal is to solve it as fast as possible, and your score is based on how fast you solve it. So it doesn't matter what language you use, what tools you use. Your goal is to just solve it as fast as possible. We're going to review what I did and see where I could have improved on things and just where I made mistakes in general. So let's get into the code. Okay. So as you can see, it's sped up. The first part took me 8 minutes to solve, and I think I got top 4,000. The second one took me an hour and 40 to solve, and I got top 10,000 in that one, and we'll go see why it took me so long. So if you see here, I just went over the question. The bad thing about me is that I skimmed over the questions. I only looked at the highlighted parts, so I missed a lot of things, and I tend to start coding before I actually think of a solution. But if I just sit there and give it just even a little bit of time, the gains on giving myself that little thinking period will outweigh the time it takes for me to think about the problem instead of just diving in and coming up with a wrong solution. So as you see here, we're reading from a file. If there's no file, we'll throw an error, but there's always going to be a file. We parse that file line by line right here with a dot split, and then we're reading every line of the input. So basically, the question is saying that given these types of inputs, we have to find the first digit that appears and the last digit appears and concatenate them together and turn it into an integer and find the sum of all of those integers from the first and last of every row. So as you can see here, 1 and 2 make 12, 3 and 8 make 38, 1 and 5 make 15 and that's, you can tell that it's the first and last. But you can see here that 7 by itself, it's just a solo number, so you use it for the first and last digits. So they will all be double-digit numbers. So as you see here, I'm trying to filter. So another thing is that I thought that using Copilot would help me go faster, but if you don't understand the problem, it's only going to confuse you more. So you see here, Copilot's actually trying to use regex expressions, but I don't even know what those do, honestly. I just use Copilot to just trust what it's doing, but I should really think about the problem first and then come up with a solution and then do it, because a lot of these problems, while yes, you can use regex expressions, it's not really efficient if you don't know what you're doing. So yeah, let's keep on watching. So as you can see here, this regex expression parsed each line by numbers, but as you can see here in the input, some of the numbers are right next to each other. So it puts them together, so I couldn't actually filter out the very first one and the very last one. You can see me trying to use like another regex expression to like get the first one and get the last one. And here, as you can see that I returned them as int, and I tried to sum up all of the actual. So what that next regex expression is that it squished all those numbers together, parsed it as an int, and put it into an array, and then I just summed that array with this reducer function. But as you can tell, you're supposed to get the first and last one, so that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So here I'm doing some wacky stuff with Copilot, trying to get Copilot to solve the answer for me, and I just end up going back to the old solution and like retracing my steps. So now here, I separated each number by first and last, by first and last digit, so we can go look. So then I realized that the original solution has the actual first and last digits. So what I could do after I parse it as an int is like take the very first number and the very last number and then concatenate them as a string and then transform it into an int. And that's what I do right here. So there it is, taking them as a string, concatenate together. And as you can see right here, so once I get that solution, I got it correct if this thing wasn't 10x sped up. So yeah, I got it correct right here. So here's part 2. Now this is the issue with part 2, is that I didn't really read the question correctly. So I got part 1 finished in 8 minutes, but as I said, it took me an hour and 40 to finish the second part. I don't know if that's due to where I was hungry, if that's a bunch of copium, but that's just what happened. I should have just read the question and read the examples and figured out what I needed to do. So basically for the second part, it's now telling you that there are now words inside that input that you have to translate to an actual number. So like 219 is actually like a physical, is like a literal 2, then the number 2, the number 1, and the number 9. So in the original part 1, this would be actually just be 11, but in part 2, this would be 29. So that's the change that it had to part 2, and you had to process each of those. But as you can see right here, the issue is that the words can share numbers. So something like 1 and 8, you wouldn't really know how this processes, because as you can tell here, it only cares about the first one. Where is it? 1 and 8 right here. It only cares about the first one. What a lot of people thought was that once you find the actual occurrence of that word, you replace that occurrence with the number. But that was actually a wrong approach, because you would be getting rid of that E in the 1, and this would just be ite. But in reality, that would be an 8. And where that causes problems is when the word is at the end, but then this letter occurs at the start of, like, let's just pretend this was a number. This whole string sequence was a number. So when this gets processed, it would cut out this entire section, trade it for the number that exists in there, and then this would just be even instead of 7, and that would be entirely wrong. Like, let's just also pretend that 2 isn't there. So that is where I got stuck on part 2, and we can see it right now. So as you can see here, I made like a list of each of the numbers as strings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here I didn't even read the question correctly the first time. I only kind of grasped what I was doing. So as I said, you need to read the question. That is very, very important. So now I'm checking like, oh, if the string includes the actual number as a word, replace it with the actual number. And here I used a map, but you really didn't need to use a map. You'll see later in the solution where I could have just used an iterator, like a variable that keeps track of the number of iterations. When you scan each word that occurs, I would actually check against the entire list of string numbers if that word was in occurrence of, if that word matched with the actual word that's inside the example. And as you can see here, it's a big mistake because I'm replacing it. That was the big issue with my logic. And it seems on Twitter, it seems that the consensus is everybody was confused because they were all using replace. But maybe it's just me. I mean, that it's just, in the end, it's actually just a skill issue. So, should have known. So yeah, here's me using Copilot to try and get the answer when I don't even understand what my solution is. So yeah, as you can see right there, oh god, it's so cringe watching me try and look at me so confused. Trying to use Copilot and realizing like, oh, what's wrong with my solution? Because some of them were processing and some of them weren't, and I had no clue what my code was actually doing. So this is the big roadblock that I had that basically took this entire time, was me basically just being like, oh my god, this is so bad, blah blah blah, this and that. So like I tried to use it replace all. Yeah, and then so I was like double processing it too. After I would replace it with the string, I would actually recheck and redo the logic from the first part to see like what like what was the first and last numbers. That was so dumb on my part. What I actually should have done is every time I found a number, I put it into an array, and I just kept on doing that. And then after I get that temporary array, I get the first element, the last element as a string, concatenate them, and then parse it as an int. That's the most efficient solution that I should have done, but I was being dumb and trying to use Copilot to keep on. I mean, I had the right idea sort of, because I was like finding my iterations and seeing like what went wrong, and I was testing it against the sample solution, or you're gonna see in a little bit. I used the actual sample. So here, this is me trying to see like, oh, was my first part wrong, when I should have known that like my first part's logic was right. So I was like, I didn't really know what was wrong with my code. Here's me like trying out different things of like what's going on, putting like replacing lines in places. So yeah, so now I use the sample input. But the thing about the sample input that I didn't notice is that problem where numbers would share letters, that case was not caught within the sample input. So I saw some people complaining online that like the instructions were unclear. It's just a fucking skill issue. Like, there's nothing more than that. It's just a skill issue. Because you could get the correct answer but have your actual input be wrong because the sample did not cover all the edge cases. So yeah, this is me. But as you can tell, something went wrong, and I didn't even match it up because I got 211 and the sample was 281. So this is me just trying to fix it. I had almost the right idea, but I knew that something was wrong because like it wasn't processing like the entire word. So like I knew I was just going to the length, which would exclude the actual last which would exclude the last element. So I just had to fix that. So I remember I was going crazy. It was like, and then yeah, at this point I was like, okay, maybe I was kind of getting the right like idea, because I was like, okay, I should have a pointer, and that pointer should start at a place and then read the rest of the word, find the first occurrence of the string numbers, and then keep on moving on and keep on going and replacing and seeing. So like if this was 1 and that's the first one, okay, replace it with 1, and then the pointer would go to like that start, and then we go to the next string. If it's not, go to the next. So like I kind of had the right idea, but at the same time I didn't, because I was still replacing, and I didn't realize that they could share the numbers. The word numbers could actually share letters together. And that's the main thing went out wrong. So this is me debugging the entire time. This is me like giving up. I was like, what's going on? Yeah, that's the face of defeat right there. Yep. The hand on the forehead. Like I was doing the weirdest things. I was touching the variables in my for loop. I changed my for loop to a while loop. Like I was literally going crazy. Yeah, I changed my for loop into a while loop that did the same thing as the for loop, except I had to keep track of the variables. I was like dead ass going crazy. Let me show an example of like what actually was going wrong. When you had something like 1, 2, 7, 9. When you had something like this, so let's zoom in. So when you had something like this, you see how the first, so when you'd parse it in the way that I was saying, you would take the 1 and replace it with a 1, then go to 2, but then when you see that 7, it would be 7, and then it would be INE. And INE is not a number, so this would be the solution you'd get. You would think that it would be 1 and 7, but what was supposed to happen, it was supposed to be 1 and then 2 and then 2 and then 7, but that 9 still existed. So you put that 9 in there, and that's why I said you're supposed to, every time you found the translation of the word, you would put it into an array, or if you found like a number, you'd also add that to the array, so you could just get the first and last one. But I wasn't thinking. So yeah, back to the voiceover. So yeah, this is me troubleshooting. When I'm looking away, that's me looking at the second monitor for like ChatGPT and stuff like that. But like, dude, I even went crazy at like copy and paste. I literally like put the entire problem into ChatGPT and like putting some crazy prompt, but I was stressed. I was like, oh, I gotta solve this. But never again. Never again. Reading the problem. It's funny because I say never again, but like for day 2, I literally also didn't read the problem and sacrificed 20 minutes. Don't worry about it. We'll see it. You'll see in the next video. But yeah. This is me giving up. Yep. There it is. The face of defeat. The hands on the head is crazy. When you see the hands on the head, you know you're defeated. Yeah, like I was so surprised that I was top 4,000. I was like, yo, that's so good. But now I'm trolling. I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what to do. The headphones are off now. That shows like, oh man, I'm just stuck. I was like, man, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Me like trying to look at ChatGPT. Because I didn't want to look at the answers. I didn't want to just like straight up look at the answers. But like at the same time, I was like, man, I am so stuck. So this is when I start to figure out like, oh my God. So yeah, so that cut was me figuring out like, oh my God, I know a crazy way to do it. So I'm going to let myself code the solution and then I'll explain it after. So as you can see, like it breaks right here. After we found the first number, it breaks. Okay, so let me explain to what happened. So after you find the first number, it breaks and it stores that first number. And then we start it from the back. So let's go back to that previous example. So once my solution found this 1, it would store that 1 as a variable, and then it would break, and then we would get this same whole input again, and then we would start from the back and do a reverse search. So I literally reversed this string, and I checked it against the reverse of all the string numbers. It's the dumbest solution ever. Like literally the dumbest solution ever, but I didn't see anybody else doing this and it actually worked. And I'm going to go try and get my reaction because it's actually a pretty good reaction. Let's see it again. Oh my God. The work. Oh my God. If I have to do anything that's stupid again. Oh my God. Swear to God, if I have to do anything that dumb again, I will literally end myself. So yeah, that was it. So that was me doing day 1 of Advent of Code. Day 2 is coming soon. I'm going to record that really soon and release it. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. Did y'all do Advent of Code? If so, let me know how y'all did. If you liked the video, leave a comment, like down below. Also, join my leaderboard because I want to see how I compare against you guys. So the code's down below. Links are down below. Join the Discord to get more information. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.